Hello, the students of class 6, you all are welcome again to Maimansingh Online School. I am Mohammad Rajul Karim, Assistant Teacher English, Maimansingh Jilla School. Today, I am here to present an important session called or named Voice for the students of class 6. Okay, my dear student, today I'll try to make you clear a concept or try to provide a clear concept on voice. Actually, after the lesson, we will be able to learn what is voice, and after that, what is the importance of voice. Number 3, what are the elements of voice? If I want to change an active voice into passive or a passive into active, what elements do we need? And finally, number 4, we will be able to change an active voice into passive or a passive into active or vice versa. Okay, my dear student. Now, I am going to our main point, that is voice. Okay, keep your eyes on Maimansingh Online School and enjoy my class. And I think you will get something new from me. Okay, voice. What is voice? If I give you a definition of voice, what will be? Just I am writing here the definition of the voice, just to make you understand some things. Okay. Voice is the form of verbs. Verb. Voice is the form of verb in a sentence. In a sentence that shows whether the subject acts or is acted upon. Hello, my dear student. Here I have written the definition of the voice. What is voice? Voice is the form of verb. That means voice is keenly associated with verb because it indicates the form of verbs. Okay? In a sentence that shows whether the subject acts or something is done or subject do the work. The subject acts or is acted upon, or something is happened or something is done by someone or something. Okay, my dear student, if we look at the definition, we find two terms. One is the subject acts, another is acted upon. And depending on these two terms, voice is two types. That is why voice is two types. One is active and another is passive. Okay, my dear student, when the subject acts, it is active. When something is done by that subject, then it is passive. I think you all have understood the definition, and you can write the definition of the voice. Okay, now we are going to the classification of the voice. Active and passive. As we find here, there are two types of voice. One is active and another is passive. Though, what is active and what is passive? You just have a clear concept on these two terms. What is active and what is passive? Active voice. Active voice is that voice where subject is the doer. In active voice, subject is the doer. That means subject performs the action or perform the action. Okay, my dear student, I think you all have understood what is active. In an active voice, subject is the doer or subject perform the action. Who perform the action? Subject perform the action. If I give you an example, what will be? I play football. Who perform this action? What is the action of this sentence? Play. Who play? I play. Who plays? I play. At that time, who perform this action? I perform this action. That means subject perform this action. That is why we have to say it is an example of active voice. Okay, my dear student. Now we are going to passive voice. What is passive voice? Passive voice is such type of voice where the action or the verb is focused. That means we have to focus here the verb, not the subject. Here the subject is not the matter. Here verb is the matter. That is why we have to focus on the verb. That means in passive voice we just focus on the verb, not subject. It is true, it is important. It is not important. That means to know the subject of the sentence. That means in passive voice we just focus on the verb, and it is not important to know what is the subject. Example, if I give you an example, then you will clear more. The house is built. The house is built. Who built? There is no, the subject is mentioned here. Okay, that is why we just focus on the verb built. This house is built as we have performed this action. And that is why in passive voice you just focus on the verb, not subject. In passive voice, subject is not matter. Just action is the matter. Okay, I think you all have understood what is active and what is passive. If you know what is active and what is passive, then we will go how can we change an active sentence into passive sentence or passive voice. Active voice into passive voice. To perform this changing or to perform, we need some materials. So at first I want to inform you the materials. Just to change an active voice into passive voice, we need 5 terms or 5 materials. Now I am writing one by one, and after that I'll explain. Okay, just keep your eyes on My Machine Online School. active to passive. According to definition of Boyce, definition of active, definition of post-passive, we have understood that, or we have understood the definition or the structure of active and passive voice. The structure of active voice is subject, verb, object. The structure of active voice is subject, verb, object. Here you can use different type of preposition, different type of phrase to enhance the meaning or to enlarge the sentence. But the main structure is this. Okay, this is the active voice structure. This is the structure of active voice. What will be the structure of passive voice? The structure of passive voice is object will be subject. That means object will be subject. Object will be subject plus auxiliary verb plus auxiliary verb plus verb past participle form. Verb past participle or past participle of verb. Past participle of verb. Okay. Plus extra information if you find in a sentence, plus by, plus subjected object or the object of subject. Object of subject. Okay. Now we are going to tell you what is the definition of passive or what is the structure of passive. At first, you have to change the object into subject. After that, you just use an auxiliary verb, and after that, you just use the past participle of verb, and after that, if you find extra information, then use here, and after, you have to use by. Here, we will use different type of preposition. Here, we may use to. Here, we may use in. Here we may use with. Here we may use it. And that is why, and we will learn one by one later. Okay, you just know the general structure of passive voice. And after that you just write the objective form of subject. I think you all have understood the structure of active and passive. Here, when we go to passive voice, then we find that auxiliary verb, subject will be object, object will be subject. And that is why from the structure of passive voice, we need to know something. One is subject, another is object, number 3 is verb, number 4 is tense. Number 5 is person. And all these are the element to perform or to change an active voice into passive voice. We have to know these 5 terms properly. If you know these 5 terms properly, you will be able to change an active voice into passive voice. Okay, my dear student, just keep your eyes. Now I am explaining this term one by one. What is subject? How can we trace subject? What is object? How can we trace object? What is verb? How can we trace verb? What is tense? And how can we trace what type? What is the sentence? What sentence? What tense is it? Or is the sentence? Person and changing of person. Okay, my dear student, I am explaining one by one. Okay, what is subject? First, we find subject. What is subject? Subject is the doer. Subject is the doer. That means who perform the action. Who perform the action is called subject. The person or the man or the person who perform or performs the action is called subject. If we ask the verb of a sentence using who, then we find the subject. Like we eat rice. We eat rice. Just if we ask using, if we ask the verb using who, you will get the subject. At first, eat. If you ask who eat, who eat, who eat, we eat. That is why we is the subject. I think you all have understood what is subject and you will be able to trace what is subject. Okay, my dear student, now we are going to object. How can we trace object? And what is object? Just you have to remember that if we ask verb using what and whom, then we find the object. At first, we help them. Just you have to ask what or whom. You have to ask the verb using what or whom. Okay, my dear student, I think you have understood what and whom. If you ask the sentence what, you won't get any answer. But if you ask whom, then you will get answer. That is, we help whom. Whom do we help? We help them. If them is the object. I love it. What do you love? I love it. It is the object. Okay, my dear student, I think you all have understood what is object. Now we are going to verb. What is verb? Verb is the action. Verb is the action. And we have to trace the verb of a sentence when we change an active voice into passive voice. You have to remember that we generally change an active voice into passive voice which has a transitive verb. What is transitive verb? Transitive verb is that verb which takes object. But the verb which doesn't take object is called intransitive verb. Just I'll clear you transitive verb and intransitive verb. Transitive verb means I play football. Here football is the object and play takes an object. That is why it is called transitive verb. But if the bird or birds fly, this fly doesn't take any object. That is why it is called intransitive verb. It is called intransitive verb. You know, when we change the voice, then we must find a transitive verb. Okay, and we find an object also. Okay, verb. Now we are going to tense. How can we change one tense into another tense? Just you have to read only 5 terms for tense, though there are 12 structure of the tense. But you need not necessary to know all these 12 structure. You just follow 5 structure, you will be able to perform. Okay, the changing of tense. Changing of tense. That means when we find present indefinite tense, That means we may find an active voice in present indefinite tense. When we change it into passive voice, at that time we have to take some auxiliary verb, and that these are am, is, and are. Okay, my dear student, am, is, and are. When we find past indefinite tense, then we will take the auxiliary verb of the next tense, that is past continuous tense. Here we take the auxiliary verb of the next tense of present indefinite. Next tense of present indefinite is present continuous. In present continuous we find am, is, are. Here we take am, is, are, and past indefinite we use was and were. Okay, any continuous. There are 6 types of continuous. That means present continuous, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous. That is why when you find any continuous, and at that time you just use auxiliary verb plus being. You just add being with auxiliary verb. Okay, my dear student. Number 4, when you find any perfect tense, when you find any perfect, at that time you use auxiliary verb plus been. You just add been with auxiliary verb, and after that when you find a modal auxiliary verb, in future tense we find modal auxiliary verb, and that is why I amalgamated all types of modal auxiliary verb in one category, and that is why number 5, modal auxiliaries. If you find any modal auxiliary, then it will be modals plus be. That means this 5 will cover all the tense. That means if you find present indefinite tense, you will take am, is, are. If you find past indefinite tense, you will take was, were. If you find any continuous, you will take or you will add being with auxiliary verb. And if you find any perfect tense, you will add been with auxiliary verb. And if you find any modal auxiliaries, you add be with that modal auxiliary verb. Okay, my dear student, I think you have understood what is tense. Now we are going to person. In person, you have to know the subjective form and objective form of the person. Changing of person. I, objective form is me. You, objective form is you. We, objective form is us. They, objective form is them. Okay, my dear student. He, objective form is him. She, objective form is her. Okay, it, objective form is it. Tree, objective form is tree. Rohim, objective form is Rohim. I think you all have understood the subjective form and objective form of person. Okay, my dear student, I think you all have understood all these elements. Now we are going to practice. How can we change an active voice into passive voice? Active into passive. Active into passive. If I give you an example, that is, he does the work. What will be the passive of this sentence? The structure said that at first I have to take the object. What is the object here? The work. At first we write here the work. And after that we have to use an auxiliary verb according to the structure. And this tense is in present indefinite tense. As it is in present indefinite tense, that is why I have to take am, is, or are according to person. The work, the auxiliary verb will be is. The work is. And after that we have to use the past participle form of verb. Here the main verb is does. That is why the past participle of does is done. done, and there is nothing else. That is why we just use by and objective form of subject him. I think you all have understood how can we change an active voice into passive voice. Actually, we need to practice more and more, and on next class we will practice more, but shortness of time I cannot continue this class more. Okay, my dear student, I think you all have understood what is voice, what is the importance of voice, what are the materials of voice, and how can we change an active voice into passive voice. On next class, I'll try to show more exercise and changing from active into passive and passive into active. Okay, my dear student, just I want to close or I want to finish. That is why keep your eyes on Mymensingh Online School and read at your home properly. Don't waste your time and telling it I want to finish it. Bye.